Behold. Okay, we are going to walk through. We're going to walk through this marvelous, I tell you, it's amazing. It's like PDF on how to prep your file for the black and white tethered assignment 6 studio portrait still life, whatever the fuck it is. So if you are looking at the handout, you should hopefully notice a very precise, that is not the right handout, alignment with what I'm talking about and what is going on in the handout. That is because I have printed out right here on this yellow piece of paper the handout. I'm just going to walk through it. The file that we're going to be working with is there in week 11. If you want to look at it, sample files and miscellaneous. Boom, there it is. It's just a shot that I took last year when I was demoing the speedlights. These many years ago. So let's go ahead and pull it up here in Photoshop. Okay, so this is a picture, right? It's okay, right? It's not bad. It's kind of good. I'm basically a genius. There are some problems with it, right? So there is some retouching that needs to happen. And I'm not going to do that there. Where's my layers? Come here, layers. There we go. So let's just go ahead. I'll make a spotting layer. And you know, there's some stuff back here we don't need. Get rid of that. Get rid of this. This was just shot in the classroom without any sort of backdrop or anything. So that's why there are all of these things that were basically just crud on the wall. But they are easy to get rid of. Not like that, they're not. Okay, good enough. All right, so let's say that that is good. Rest of him looks good. Oh, there's a little tiny piece of crud. Boop. So this is pretty reasonable. Right, so I've got my file. I want it to be in the right color space. I don't actually know what color space this is in. Go to convert to profile. Sorry, I should do that a little bit slower. All right, so we went to edit, convert to profile, right? That's where I can go ahead and see what we're at. Current profile, Profoto, that's not what I want. Adobe RGB 1998, that is what I want. Shabam. And mode, oh no! Look what happened. It flattened my layers. We don't, that's terrible. Don't do that. Let's go back and fix that. History. Boop. Cool. So now we can see my layers are right there. And this is a classic problem. Convert to profile, walk through this again, Profoto, Adobe RGB 1998, and right down there, hiding in plain sight, uncheck that box. It should stay unchecked now for the rest of your days. So hit OK, cool, our layers are still there. That's awesome. So all that is good. Let's check our bit depth, image mode. Oh, 16. I don't need 16. 8-bit. That seems fine. I guess I should check my assignment. Yeah. Assignment description. 8-bit. Good. All right. So I'm going to resize my image to make my very large print size. Again, I'm going to wave this piece of paper around, so sorry about that. I'm going to go to image size. All right, you can basically ignore that weird little box over there if you want. First, I'll try with resample unchecked. And set my resolution to 180. So why do I do this, right? So my resolution at 180, that's kind of the lowest that I feel super comfortable printing at. You could go down as low as 150. No. So I set it to my lowest possible resolution, and I tell Photoshop, hey, look, don't make up anything, don't get rid of anything. Just at my lowest resolution, how big would it be, right? Because PPI is pixels per inch. I take all these pixels and I spread them out, so there are 180 of them in every single inch. And that's where I'm like, okay, well, that's as far as I'm willing to go. Oh, and yeah, when I do that, all I have for my width is 20, whereas I'm trying to get it to 33. If you have a higher resolution camera, right, it is possible that you could set it to 180 and you're already at 33 or even a little bit above. If you do that, then you're awesome, right? All you need to do is keep resample unchecked, go in there, set it to that 33-inch width, and you're done. So let me just check. Yeah. So now I know that that has not worked on mine. I'm going to go ahead and set my width to 33 manually. I can see that my height now is around 50, right, based on the proportion of standard 2:3 ratio. And my resolution now is dropped down to 113. I would like to have my resolution be higher than that. Right? I would like to have my resolution be at something like 180. So I will hit resample and boost the resolution to 180. In the handout, right, I leave it at 180, hit resample, and then change the width. The order that you do those things in doesn't matter. Basically, once you have checked resample, any changes that you make will be adding or subtracting pixels. So if I, set my width and then click resample, change the pixels or PPI. If I keep the PPI, check resample, change my width, right? Either way, I'm changing something. I'm asking it to make it bigger. Because I have resample checked, it's going to do that by making up pixels. So cool, we'll hit OK, right? It'll churn a little bit, right? Because it's making up a bunch of pixels. My image will boing jump on my screen, again, because there are more pixels. And now if I zoom in here, I'm going to use the navigator. For those of you who have not used this window in Photoshop before, it's super helpful. It allows you to sort of just scroll around. It's great when you have an image that's really big and you don't want to spend your entire time like grabbing it and throwing it with the hand tool. So this is okay, but I can tell looking at some of these fine details on hairs and things, it's not as sharp as it was, obviously, before I had Photoshop make up a bunch of stuff. So what we can do with that, right, and this is a skill that you will probably run into a lot, right? Printing big is something everybody likes to do because it looks kind of awesome. So you are very often going to be having Photoshop enlarge things beyond what the image can handle. Sometimes you will be doing that to make a big print. Sometimes you'll be enlarging it and it'll just like look kind of crappy because you shot it at a high ISO or you like didn't focus as well as you could, or your lens was garbage, any of these things. So we're going to do something to make it look a little crispier, even though we had Photoshop make up some image. And the way that we're going to do that, one thing that I should have noted before, my image, as you can tell, is black and white, right? That's because I had it in Lightroom, where I had done that black and white conversion as I shot it, and then I brought it from Lightroom here into Photoshop. So that's why I didn't need to do any black and white conversion in Photoshop itself. Okay, follow along on my own handout here. So we're going to try and boost the crispiness a little bit by adding grain, right? So those of you who've had me in the Photoshop class, you know how this works. To do it, we need to make a new layer by going to the layer menu. We can't do it over here in layers just by clicking the little post-it note. We want to go to layer, new, layer. So the nice thing about that, pops up this little box here. I'm going to call this grain. And important, I'm going to come down here to mode and put it to overlay. And then I'm going to check the box that says fill with overlay neutral color. I'm going to hit OK and nothing will appear to happen. Overlay is a blending mode where anything in that layer that is lighter than medium gray makes the stuff below that layer lighter. Anything that is darker than medium gray makes the stuff below that layer darker. We filled it with medium gray, which is neither lighter than medium gray nor darker than medium gray, so nothing will happen. Okay, there's our new grain layer. We want it on top of everything, right? We want it on top of both the original layer and the spotting and retouching layer. Bing is his name. I'm not shilling for Microsoft or something. Okay, there is our grain layer, and as promised, it does nothing. So let's go ahead and change that. Make sure that you are zoomed in to 100%. You can do that by hitting Z on the keyboard for zoom, and then coming over here hitting 100%. This is going to mean that you are seeing all of the detail in your image that your monitor can show you. If you zoom out, right, your monitor can't show you each pixel, and so you're getting an approximation. You don't really know how sharp or soft anything is when you are zoomed out farther. Likewise, if you zoom in more, not that great. Right, not good, good. Let's move over here. So I'm on that grain layer. Let's go up to filter, noise, and add noise. So I want this to be monochrome. I want it to be Gaussian. I'm going to boost it up a little bit. So what grain or what noise does is that it puts this random speckling, right? It's black and white because we're in monochrome. It is, excuse me, essentially randomly distributed because we set Gaussian. And then we change the amount. And as we do that, you'll see that there is a sort of overall texture that is being applied. That's because the noise that we're creating is making dots in this grain layer either darker or lighter. And because our blending mode is set to overlay, that means that if it's darker, it makes the underlying image darker. If it's lighter, it makes the underlying image lighter. So that's what's happening right now. That gives us the effect of sort of a film grain look, right? Is it exactly film grain? No, it's not fucking exactly film grain. I didn't shoot it on fucking film because film. But it's pretty good. It's more noticeable in sort of medium to dark solid tones. It's less noticeable in the very light areas. We want to be a little bit more than we actually think would be good, right? And then we're going to go ahead and back it off after we've done it. So I'm going to set this to, oh gosh, 8 looks pretty good. I'm going to make it a little bit higher. Whoa, not 89. That is. What if I set it to 10? Okay. So I've gone ahead and put this grain in here. You can come to your grain layer. You can drop it down a little bit, the opacity. You could blur it a little bit. We probably don't want to blur it. I am more likely to blur something if my file size is not as huge as this is, or if my grains are much bigger, or if I'm trying to match some texture in the file already. But what this does is it just gives this universal texture over the whole thing, and that texture itself feels sharp. So the grain, the dots that we've made are sharp. They're not blurry because we're creating them at the final size, right? This is why we do it after we've already enlarged the file. So we've enlarged the file, we make the grain. The grains are very crisp. And because our viewer then looks at it and sees these crispy, sharp things, the impression is that the whole image is crisp and that it just has a little bit of grain on it, right? They're like, oh, it's sharp and in focus. It's just at a slightly higher ISO. It's kind of a trick. You know, I use it in the post-production class to sort of tie together things where we have a lot of heavy editing. But yeah, it's good. So there we go. We've got our grain, we have our spotting and retouching layer below it, and we have our main image layer below that. I'm going to check my handout. That's all the pages. So that's all the information you're going to get. Cool. So I want to, if this is my assignment 6, I'm going to look at my assignment description. And I know that I want a TIFF file. And then I'm going to make a small JPEG. And then I have these BTS stuff in the outtakes. So I'm going to go ahead and save it as a TIFF. Command-Shift-S. Photoshop. TIFF. Boom. I would probably, let's see. If you were really sending this to print, I would not include layers. The reason I don't include layers is that if you give somebody a file that has layers in it, they can turn them off. If they turn them off, then you're in trouble. So I would typically uncheck that. But for this, I think we'll be okay if I did include it. It's kind of up to you. I would generally say not to. If you have some like cool tricky thing and you want to include them for some reason, I guess that's fine. But save your PSD first so that you have that file there in your archive, and then do a save as a TIFF, and I would say get rid of the layers. Cool, and name it whatever. Whatever it is that I ask you to name it. Assignments. I see, I don't turn in stuff for my own class. 5.3. Assignment 06. Print. Cool. So I'll go ahead and save that, and then it is ready to turn that part in. Remember, too, that you need to save a shrunk down JPEG. You can do that from Lightroom. I mean, I guess you could actually do the TIFF saving part from Lightroom, too. You just need to double check that it's the right size. And that's about it. If you have any questions on any of this, as far as the post-production file processing part, give me a holler, reach out, and yeah, should be good. And I look forward to seeing the images.